In 1966, aerospace engineer Dr. Chan Thomas published a chilling book predicting sudden, world-ending cataclysm. He warned civilization could vanish in a single day, obliterated by forces lurking beneath our feet. Within months, the CIA classified Thomas's book, banishing it from shelves as if it revealed dangerous, forbidden secrets. Decades later, only 57 pages resurfaced, heavily sanitized, redacted, and incomplete, a ghost of the original manuscript. Thomas theorized that Earth's crust can suddenly slip, unleashing floods, supersonic winds, and quakes, resetting civilization in one day. Each shift erases history, forcing humanity to start again from stone tools, scattered survivors, and broken memories of the past. The title of his book, The Adam and Eve Story, wasn't metaphor. Thomas meant humanity literally restarts after each planetary reset. Mainstream experts have written off Thomas's work as nonsense. But if it was, why did the CIA classify it? Why bury harmless pages under decades of bureaucratic secrecy? Suppression suggests that his writing stumbled upon something real and dangerous. Could it be that the book revealed truths that civilization isn't ready for? Dr. Chan Thomas wasn't a novelist. He trained as an aerospace engineer, specializing in advanced defense technologies. He worked with McDonnell Douglas, a company tied to Cold War secrets, missile systems, and experimental aerospace projects. This wasn't a mystic in robes. This was a credentialed scientist, publishing catastrophic warnings with technical confidence. Thomas argued, Earth's outer crust isn't locked. It can suddenly shift like loose skin around molten layers. When it slips, continents shift rapidly beneath the air and oceans, which lag behind due to inertia, unleashing unimaginable chaos across the planet. In his model, destruction comes instantly. Megaquakes, titanic waves, and violent windstorms. Civilization erased within 24 hours. According to Thomas, each cataclysm wipes the slate clean, leaving survivors scattered, stripped of knowledge, tools, and history. Humanity doesn't just collapse, it reboots, climbing again from the Stone Age toward fragile civilizations destined to fall again. Thomas suggested our civilization isn't the first. 5 advanced societies may have risen and vanished before us. Each reached heights of knowledge, then perished in flood, wind, fire, and ice, leaving myths as fractured memories. If true, our skyscrapers and satellites are only the latest fragile layer atop repeating cataclysmic cycles. Thomas built on American historian and college professor Charles Hapgood's radical theory. Earth's crust occasionally shifts, displacing continents in violent geological upheavals. Albert Einstein once wrote Hapgood a letter, admitting the theory was bold, yet scientifically plausible under certain conditions. By invoking Einstein's warmth toward such ideas, Thomas grounded his warning in intellectual credibility, framing apocalypse as possibility, not fantasy. Thomas envisioned Earth's crust breaking free, hurtling continents across the planet's surface through oceans and atmosphere. Tsunamis form, towering nearly 2 miles high, swallowing entire continents whole as the land masses crash head-on into the oceans. The atmosphere turns into a destructive wall of air, traveling faster than sound, over 1,000 miles per hour, shredding forests, cities, and mountain ranges. The ground convulses violently, megaquakes rupturing continents, opening chasms that swallow rivers, plains, and civilizations without mercy. Volcanoes awaken everywhere, spewing molten rock as Earth's crust fractures like fragile glass under unbearable planetary strain. Skies darken with ash. Lightning ignites global infernos. Storms of fire sweeping across drowned and broken lands. It isn't gradual collapse. It's cinematic annihilation, the planet violently erasing everything built over millennia. Then comes the freeze due to the blotted-out sun. The onset of an instant ice age entombs continents beneath sudden glaciers. Temperatures plunge by dozens of degrees, faster than survival allows. Farmland withers overnight, and hunting grounds disappear. Forests and animals vanish beneath the ice, locked in crystalline prisons for thousands of unbroken years. Humanity endures, but is reduced to scattered, starving tribes, scavenging in the shadows of former cities, now destroyed. Tools regress quickly, from steel back to stone, as knowledge evaporates rapidly. Civilization's achievements, cities, monuments, technology, obliterated, erased, preserved only as buried ruins beneath endless ice. Thomas described Earth's axis swinging violently, the planet reorienting itself by a staggering 90 degrees. What was once polar becomes tropical. Jungles shift to tundra, climates rewriting themselves in hours. Maps lose meaning, coastlines redrawn, and capitals vanish beneath unrecognizable landscapes. For survivors, Earth itself becomes alien, a reborn planet, indifferent to the civilizations that had been erased overnight. Thomas pointed to myth as evidence. Over 40 cultures preserved memories of devastating floods, striking without warning. The Bible's Genesis flood, Noah's Ark, waters rising for 40 days, drowning nearly all life. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh described torrents consuming kingdoms, leaving survivors drifting in boats. Hindu texts recalled Manu, warned by a great fish, surviving cosmic deluge that erased entire worlds. Aztec legends spoke of suns destroyed by floods, humanity reborn from scattered survivors clinging to land. Even Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime remembered waters, swallowing landscapes, forcing ancestral migrations across a reshaped Earth. Thomas identified recurring cataclysms, massive events he believed struck Earth every several thousand years. He cited Sumerian flood tablets from 6,500 years ago, which spoke of Mesopotamian kings who were washed away. 11,500 years ago, aligned with Plato's Atlantis, swallowed in a single day and night. Further back, evidence from 18,500, 29,000, and 43,800 years ago suggest a similar, ominous cycle of destruction. In Mauritania lies the Eye of the Sahara, the Rishat structure, a colossal circular formation. It spans 25 miles, concentric rings resembling Plato's description of Atlantis, alternating land and water. Geologists say erosion, but its size and symmetry keep fueling theories of a lost civilization. Satellite imagery reveals uncanny resemblance. 3 rings, central island, waterways matching Plato's ancient dialogues. If Atlantis drowned 11,500 years ago, perhaps it still rests beneath Sahara sands today. Off Japan's coast lies Yonaguni, massive stone terraces and steps, submerged 25 meters beneath the Pacific. Some argue geology, Others see ancient engineering, carved blocks aligned, staircases, walls, traces of forgotten builders. Far across the ocean, Micronesia's Nan Madol boasts canals and basalt temples, nicknamed the Venice of the Pacific. Its origins remain mysterious. Thousands of megalithic columns, transported without explanation, arranged on coral reefs. On Easter Island, Moai statues stand tall, many buried to their shoulders beneath accumulated earth. Excavations revealed full torsos, inscriptions, evidence they were erected before cataclysm buried them halfway. Thomas noted uncanny parallels in language and myth, symbols, flood stories, sun gods repeating worldwide, Egyptian pyramids, Mayan temples, Mesopotamian ziggurats, distant cultures building aligned monuments without apparent contact. Words for water, sky, God share echoes across continents, hinting at forgotten ancestral linguistic roots. Legends of serpents, floods, and fiery destruction recur, from Norse Ragnarok to Hopi tales. According to Thomas, such overlaps suggest not coincidence, but memory, fragments of a shared civilization erased by catastrophe. When the Adam and Eve story was released in the early 1960s, it made no headlines, no public splash. The mainstream media ignored it. Academic journals passed it over without review or response. But in niche circles of speculative science and fringe philosophy, it began to circulate. However, by the late 1970s, the book had quietly vanished from shelves, with no explanation from its publisher. Researchers couldn't find copies in libraries. Bookstores had no records. Even interlibrary loan systems came up empty. The scarcity triggered suspicion, not of reader indifference, but intentional suppression of forbidden knowledge. People began claiming the book had been banned by the US government or seized under national security grounds. Then, in 2013, the CIA released a document through its CREST digital archive titled The Adam and Eve Story. The file contained 57 pages, a fraction of the original 284-page manuscript, published in 1963. It was labeled sanitized copy, approved for release, indicating the content had been edited or redacted. Only the early chapters of the book were included. No appendices, no diagrams, no technical sections. The file lacked any internal memos, summary pages, or commentary from CIA analysts. There were no markings explaining why the book had been classified or who submitted it for review. To some, this only solidified the legitimacy of Thomas's claims. The classification of his book by the CIA fueled speculation that Thomas wrote something the world wasn't supposed to read, a theory buried not for being wrong, but for being too right. But perhaps the book may have been classified for other reasons, not to hide a global cataclysm, but because of who wrote it and when. The Adam and Eve story was published at the height of the Cold War. Governments were already researching electromagnetic weapons, tectonic disruption, and engineered climate systems. Crustal destabilization, even as theory, could raise flags inside defense think tanks. And John Thomas wasn't just an author. He worked in aerospace and advanced propulsion systems. He had access to classified materials and emerging technologies under strict military oversight. That alone, his proximity to sensitive research, may have triggered automatic classification of any of his works, regardless of the subject matter. Also, Thomas's book wasn't the only one to explore these cataclysmic ideas. Other authors, like Charles Hapgood and Immanuel Velikovsky, wrote about planetary cataclysms, pole shifts, and magnetic reversals decades before he did. Their books were controversial, but they were never classified. If Thomas's theories alone triggered CIA classification, then Hapgood's and Velikovsky's similar books should have vanished too. But they didn't. In fact, they stuck around long enough for the theories within their pages to be disproven. Mainstream geologists countered the claims of Hapgood, Velikovsky, and Thomas with findings on plate tectonics, which showed that the crust moves slowly, centimeters per year, as opposed to violent slips, resetting civilization overnight. Thomas's work was increasingly looking less like science and more like catastrophic speculation dressed in technical language. In later editions of the book, Thomas drifted from geology, introducing claims of extrasensory perception and human psychic potential. He added chapters on UFOs, angelic beings, and cosmic battles hidden behind Earth's material history. These shifts diluted credibility amongst mainstream readers and critics, pushing his work from scientific speculation into outright fringe territory. Scholars dismissed him entirely, branding the book pseudoscience, unworthy of serious geological or historical consideration. Ironically, the more he expanded, the faster mainstream dismissed his original catastrophic crust shift thesis. But can we write off all of Chan Thomas's work as untrue? Not quite. Though crustal slip may not be accurate, some of the accompanying disasters that Thomas warned of, such as widespread flooding, sudden temperature plunges, and even magnetic pole reversals have been proven. At the end of the last ice age, glacial lakes burst, releasing floods greater than every modern river combined. Lake Missoula's collapse unleashed walls of water hundreds of feet high, reshaping valleys across the Pacific Northwest. Geologists call them megafloods, flows racing 60 miles per hour, waves towering nearly 1,000 feet. These weren't myths, but measured events. Cataclysms proving sudden water disasters can truly erase landscapes. Then there's the flash freezing that Thomas spoke of, which we have evidence of occurring in the past. Across Siberia, woolly mammoths have been unearthed with undigested grasses still preserved in their mouths and stomachs. Such preservation requires instant freezing, temperatures plummeting so fast, flesh, organs, and food remained intact. One mammoth's last meal included buttercups, frozen before digestion, implying abrupt seasonal collapse within hours. Tens of thousands remain buried in permafrost, silent witnesses to a sudden, unexplained environmental catastrophe. These haunting carcasses hint Earth's disasters strike, not slowly, but violently, in terrifying geological moments. And finally, there's magnetic pole shifts. According to scientific research, the last full magnetic pole flip happened 780,000 years ago, as evidenced in seafloor rocks and mineral alignment in solidified lava. Geologists estimate reversals occur every 200,000 to 300,000 years, meaning statistically, Earth is long overdue for the next shift. During reversals, Earth's magnetic field weakens by up to 90%, leaving our planet largely unshielded. That invisible shield normally deflects solar wind, cosmic rays, and deadly radiation streaming from deep space. Without it, satellites would fail, GPS would collapse, and high-altitude flights risk lethal radiation exposure. Auroras would blaze across equators, while power grids fry under solar storms, magnified to catastrophic strength. We've seen it in recent history. In 1859, the Carrington event, A massive solar storm set telegraph wires sparking and burning worldwide. If repeated today, it would bring down every digital system sustaining modern life. NASA warns even moderate storms could cause trillions in damages, plunging cities into darkness for months. That means a single massive solar flare could instantly cripple civilization, plunging billions of people into technological darkness overnight, a cataclysm in its own right. Thomas's apocalypse might not need crustal slip. Any one of these disasters could reboot civilization overnight. That leaves us wondering, was John Thomas a prophet, glimpsing truths through intuition, or merely a pseudoscientist spinning apocalyptic fantasies? His credentials granted weight, yet his leaps into ESP and UFOs shredded credibility in scientific circles. Still, his central warning, sudden planetary reset, clings to unsettling geological and historical echoes. Between prophet and fraud, he remains suspended, a figure haunting the boundary of science and myth. If governments censor knowledge and myths conceal memory, how much truth lies hidden beneath stories we overlook? Are we intentionally kept in blissful ignorance of a very real threat in order to prevent mass panic? Are we kept distracted so that we don't ask too many questions? Perhaps the ancient myths we write off may not be imagination, but distorted recollections. History stretched thin across millennia of retelling. Maybe our skyscrapers, satellites, and power grids could vanish overnight, and our civilization too could slip into mythology, overlooked by distant future generations. If these cycles are real, then humanity today may simply be awaiting the next reset, setting the stage for a new Adam and Eve story.